is a new, whoops, we're recording. This is a new grant that is coming from OSTC, and they are searching for 3 students to participate in the SIP grant pilot program in 2022. These 3 students will be funded for 40 hours of paid work experience at $14.75 per hour. All work experience must take place in a competitive integrated setting with support from school personnel. Please check SIP grant page on the Oregon STC OTC Oregon website. So you can get some information there if you're interested. Go check it out. And what are we going to do today? Today, we're going to talk about the request for application, understanding where to apply for it. We're not going to delve deeply into the details, but we'll give you some big parameters and we'll show you where the website is. It is not yet up there to click and apply for, but it should be at any minute now. 2 programs from Umatilla High School and Myrtle Point are going to talk about their RFA programs, how they do it, how long they've been doing it, and you'll see there's a lot of different ways you could do it, and it fits each of their communities really well. And then we have an outside agency, Project Youth Plus, that works with a lot of YTP programs in Southern Oregon. And one of the transition specialists who places kids with Oregon Youth, Project Youth Plus, is going to talk along with Jenny Perry, who is the project director. So these are just different. It's an opportunity in the community that is funded partially by RFA, but also by WIOA. And so we'll do that too. So when we started this sequence of community of practices for this biennium, we talked about a sequence of work-based learning. And at the beginning of the biennium, we were in, and we still are, class and school. What's going on in your class and school that is getting your kids ready for work-based learning? And when we think about summer, we look at the last 3 boxes. We look at the community with support, we look at community independent, and then competitive integrated employment. So in our summer program, when we're working with students, where is each of your students in the sequence? Where are your YTP students? Are there some students you're working with who are pre-YTP, who need to be in the community with support? Are your YTP students ready for competitive integrated employment? So the purpose of today is to talk about the RFA, how to apply for it, but it's also to think about what's in your community and what are you going to do this summer? Are you going to do more job development maybe? Do you have more students who are in the competitive integrated employment box? So where are your students and what do you want to do? Do you also work with some of the sophomores who really need some community with support experience? So the RFA has been around for, CJ, how many years?
We did a test pilot in 2017 and it's been around since 2018 as an RFA.
Really?
So, yep, RFA 4448 was in 2018.
Really? So I had an RFA and I did it in 2018. Okay.
Did you? Yeah, if you did, yeah, if you can do this position, then yeah, okay. you did the 4448. Yep.
Okay, so it changes the number, but it's the and details change. So if you want to do an RFA, you need to have a fiscal agent. So your school can be the fiscal agent. And if your school is the fiscal agent, they hire and pay students, hire staff to run the RFA, provide competitive integrated employment. 20% of the total students served must be students with IDD. You can write transportation into that grant. Job coaching is allowed. If a student requires one-on-one, they must be a VR client. Staff can provide minimal job coaching. Look for natural supports. Questions to contract person must be in these dates or not correct. So-
Yeah, I'll put the due dates in there. So I think one of the big things is really that 20% for students with IDD, because this is a partnership also with the Office of Developmental Disability Services to really make sure that the variety of students and that students with IDD are getting the experiences that they need. So I'm putting the questions are due by March 11th, and then answers will be out by the 18th. And the RFA should be, it went public today, but I did have someone check it about 11 a.m. and it hadn't gone fully public. It has one final review after everything gets uploaded, but I have seen the attachments in there, which is the first step for it to be fully live. So I am going to have somebody else check when we're done with this, but it's probably by the end of this session, the RFA will be live in Oregon Buys. And Oregon Buys is the key piece for this as well. And then we take questions, and all questions really kind of go through the Office of Contracts and Procurement. And Jason Fong is the key person for that, and his information's in, yeah, that's like, so
So what
that's
I
kind of,
wanted, so here's the number.
yes, so that it's at that S1 10,000,000,01920. I will put that in chat as well, but that is the key number, and in Oregon Buys, that's, you look it up as a bid. So
I'm going to
it's
show you all the website in a minute. Okay, I just wanted to put this up here. Someone in your school, if you were to apply, you need to get an admin or someone who is in payroll. I don't know who at your school would set up an account with Oregon Buys, but it's not, so you need to get a team together if you want to apply for this. The admin, as I said, who has access to this website. So this is the website. I wrote the number out, S10,000 1920. I kind of like that. It helps me remember. But if I click on this, Oregon Buys, did it go? Yes, now I'm going to stop and show, and I'll show you Oregon Buys, maybe.
Maybe you'll get lucky, Terry. Maybe it will be live.
Let's see if it is open. Got to share again. Sorry, it's taking a minute.
You're still sharing.
Oh, I didn't stop share. Thank you. Okay, now I'll share again. So here's Oregon Buys. Can I move it after I share? I guess like, no. Do you still see it? No.
Yes, we see
This
it.
is Oregon Buys, yes.
Okay, so I'll make it bigger and let's see. You still see it?
Yep.
Okay, so I go to sign in. This is what it looks like. It's like, oh, what do you do when you get here? And so you go right over here and you go to advanced search.
You're
and
not
then-
seeing that. We are still seeing your login page.
Oh, you're not seeing it? Oh,
Just see the login, register and sign in.
I think it popped up a new window.
okay, let me try again. Sorry. Okay, so can I go back to show you what I just did? Okay. If I make it bigger, it goes away. Is that what happens? Enter full screen. Anyway, So let's see if it's there. You go to bid solicitation after you set up an account. Do you see it? What I have up?
Yep.
Oh, it's still not.
It's not there. But what I did first is I went to this, I went to advanced search, because when you first get in, it's nothing in here. I was like, what do you do? And there's it, that's it. And then you put your number in right there and it should go to it. Oh, wait, here's where the number goes. Why isn't it showing? There it is. That's the number. So, oh, look it went to, so there's other stuff in there, but that's not what we want. So I'm going to stop share. Anyway, that is what the website looks like. And then I'm going to go back to slideshow. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties now and then. Okay, there we go. So that was the Oregon Buys website. And remember, transition services are best delivered within a framework of structured planning, meaningful youth and family engagement, and state agency coordination and accountability. It takes a village to run one of these RFAs. You need to get a lot of people on board in your school and then people in your community. So if you want to apply for this, the sooner you do it, the better, because there's not, you know, how do you go to businesses and say, oh, I might have a program that can pay kids? So it's really important that everybody here start thinking about what you're going to do in the summer, because you're going to have your YTP caseload of kids who are available and looking to get experience or employment. And so what I'm going to have Umatilla High School and Myrtle Point High School each have an RFA, and Chelsea and Allie have been so kind to agree to come and talk to you about what they've done and how their program works. And so I'm going to turn it over to them and have them take over. Whoops, let me stop my share. And we will have, oh, sorry. For some reason, I am having technical difficulties today. There we go. So Garrett, would you mind pinning Chelsea and Allie so they can take center stage? And first, they're going to talk about how long they've each had the RFA, how it's changed, and what their different setup is for their RFA in their community.
Are you ready for us? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
I'll pin you guys. I can do it.
No, he pinned us. We're good.
Oh,
I just wasn't sure if you were ready. So if you want me to go first, Allie?
Yeah.
Okay. So my name's Chelsea and I am from Umatilla High School. I decided to make some notes because I get super excited about our program and I ramble and I could talk for hours about the program. So I did decide to make some notes. So here at Umatilla High School, we designed an 8-week program that takes place during the summer, and we called it SWELL, and that stands for Summer Work-Based Experience Learning Lessons. And during this 8-week program, these students all take place in a position within the community of Umatilla and Hermiston, which is our neighboring town. We currently, after 4 years of the program, so we just ended the first RFA, the 4448. And we are going to need to reapply this year. But during those 4 years, we partnered up with 32 different businesses in the 2 communities since 2018. I have some statistical number like for students, but the important part is we do have 32 businesses. So for the footwork before beginning the grant, so when we first initially started, I would spend a lot of my time going into different businesses, introducing myself, letting them know that we do have a transition program at our high school, and kind of explain to them what that was and what our goal was for those students. And during that time, I had introduced to them the possibility of a summer internship program that we were waiting to hear if we were approved for. So I did talk to them prior to knowing whether or not we had the grant, just kind of let them know what we were shooting for, what our goals were for those students, and what we hoped the outcome would be for those students. I did that quite a bit during the winter because it seemed like it was kind of a slow time for us here at the high school. It gave me an opportunity to meet multiple people in our community and partner up with them. Maybe not even just for the summer program, but for different things throughout the year, whether it was job shadows or guest speakers to come in and talk to our students. We work with students throughout the year in school-based businesses. So we have a couple different things. We have a coffee shop, we have a print shop, we have a coffee cart. Sometimes we would be able to partner up with our janitorial if we had kids who were interested in that. And so we would work with them in building a set of skills during the school year. So that way, when they were ready for the summer, we would not only know some of their strengths and what they were good at, but we would also know what they were interested in when placing them in the community. So we do at the high school have a transitions class. During that transitions class, we also work on building some soft skills and also learning what their hard skills are that they maybe already have. We have to, our students are employed through the school district during the summer program, which means they had to follow our school guidelines for being hired on. So they had to have their fingerprints done, they had to have a social security, and they had to have an Oregon ID. We had written that into our grant to help fund the Oregon IDs. But also if they didn't have a birth certificate or a social security card, I allowed myself at least 3 months to make sure that those students had those forms of identification in place because it takes a little bit of time. So we would make sure all of their fingerprinting and everything was done months prior to the summer program. Beginning summer work. So once we found out we had the summer grant, we then began working on identifying what students would be candidates for the program. What candidates were for Voc Rehab or already in Voc Rehab were always our first on top of the list. Before we even did the summer work, the students all sat down with me and they had to know what their roles and responsibilities were going to be as an employee in the community. We would take the students out prior to, and they would meet their employer that we had set up with them. They would fill out an application for that company, kind of as just a mock-up of what it's like to really be out in the workforce and getting a job. And then after they turn in their application, they would just do a very informal, they would do an informal interview with them just to kind of get them comfortable with the whole process of finding employment as if they were finding this employment on their own. A day in the life of one of our students would be, we require them to work a minimum of 10 hours a week. However, we had some of our students who were IDD that maybe they weren't able to complete a full 10 hours of work. Maybe it was too much right at the beginning. But with a little bit of amendments from CJ and a little bit of help from CJ, we were able to make it work for all of our students. And they could work up to a maximum of 20 hours, but that was written in our grant that we would have, for example, 5 students working 10 hours and 10 students working 20 hours. So we just had to kind of, we would have to make amendments yearly based off of what our need was for the summer. We did have some students that did require one-on-one. And if my understanding is the one-on-one students for this new grant, they have to be already into Voc Rehab. So that's a little bit different than I've seen in the past, but makes complete sense. We do have some students that might require a little bit more assistance for just the first few days of work until they get comfortable and acclimated into their environment. And so that would sometimes take place. We did hire, so as YTP and the RFA are different grants. So in the summer, I am a 20-hour employee. So that allowed me to spend between 10 and 20 hours with the grant as well. So in the summer, we do hire 2 to 3 assistants based off of our needs. They are required to help provide transportation, provide job readiness skills, one-on-one support if needed, troubleshoot if they had problems on the job site. They would go in and they would help kind of resolve any issues that maybe were happening with the student there, so that we could do some one-on-one time and trainings on Wednesdays. On Wednesdays, our students would participate for a couple hours a Wednesday every week. We would work on MEGI training. We would do goal setting, work on resumes, or help building our resumes. My job with YTP during the school year, like I said, in the winter, I did do a lot of the footwork to help come up with a plan and to find the students. We used our transition time to really hone in on finding what students were going to be the most suitable for the program, because we wanted to make sure we weren't throwing them into an environment that, one, wasn't safe, or two, that they just were absolutely not even ready for. And also to just make those connections on my time during transitions, because we use all of those connections throughout the year. They do guest speaking for us. We've gone into their place of business for field trips, just networking with the community, because what we have found in the 4 years of this grant is those partnerships are hiring our students. So it's been amazing what we've seen from those guys after the program. So those students participating in the program have had a very positive outcome from the work that they've done. So one thing that we do with all of our partnerships too is everybody that has agreed to do the program, they sign a memorandum of understanding that kind of just talks about the program and what their expectations are and what we cover, what the grant covers as far as their pay. And I think the insurance, I don't know, there's a bunch of fancy words in there that were designed to make sure that we were following all of the rules. We do create a booklet for the participants that work in the summer program. Some things that we include in that booklet, they're responsible for their book. They take it with them every day to work, and it's just kind of just something for them to learn to be responsible about. And that we start with our roles and responsibilities and the guidelines. Every student is started out with a schedule. As we go through the program, they may want more hours or they may need less hours, so we can change their schedules. But with only 3 assistants and providing transportation, we kind of have to stick to the schedule. We do all of our release forms for photography for both VR and also just for the school. They have to have a signed permission to participate. Their parents are asked to come to an orientation we want to make sure that they're on board with what we're doing and that they are aware of what their student's going to be doing. A permission to transport is in there. We also include timesheets for whether you do it monthly or weekly. We do ours weekly, and then there's a place for the business to sign off just to verify their hours. We do a beginning, middle, and an end. It's not a survey, but just to kind of a checklist, a checkpoint to tell us where the student started, where they're at in the middle, and where they're ending, so that we can provide CJ a nice detailed synopsis of how those students have done throughout those 8 weeks to show her growth and what worked and what didn't work. And then, like I said, at the end of our 8-week program, we provide CJ with that detailed report, and we're done. And that's that. And that's that.
Thank you.
You're
Good.
welcome.
Good job. What a wonderful thing you're doing with students out there in Umatilla. Sure.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
So our program, we run we've been doing it this will be our 5th year. We'll have to reapply. We also were at 448 in 2018. I'm a 40-hour employee during the summertime. So basically we hire a couple of people that run the program and I just help support it and manage it, help them get their supplies. One of the people that we hire is a bus driver. So she's able to do all the transportation for us to our different sites. We have, we start in May with interview lessons and workplace readiness training. Our students fill out applications and go through the interview process with a hiring team of district administration and employees. Students are then hired as Myrtle Point School District employees, and they go through the same process that you would if you were a classified employee. They all have to go through the drug testing. They all have to fill out their applications. They have to do all the work reports and all of that type of thing and turn them in to Lacey, who is our fiscal manager. And so they all meet her. They all have to fill out their own time cards. We hire 10 students and we hire them as individuals, but they work as a contracting group. They work at different work sites as a team, and they're all hired for 5 hours a day, and they work 5 days a week, except during the county fair, which they work 8 hours. By contracting to the job sites as a team, they're able to offer a full duty operation to employers. We have our own supervision as well. That way we're able to get the fair job, as it's because the fair, they were having a hard time getting any employees. And so we hired on as a contracting group to do the whole project of their custodial and their maintenance. We travel to Diamond Lake Resort, and at the resort, they learn how to do housekeeping. They work in the cafe, they work in the landscaping. But once again, they're working as a team. They split off into small groups and they'll go to the different work sites as a team. So they're always working together and always doing that team building situation. We work at Powers Ranger Stations. Students work with the recreation techs, and there they work on clearing trails, moving brush, cleaning campgrounds or graffiti. And this year they actually installed a fire ring in one of the campgrounds. The ranger then invites members from the other parts of the Forest Service to talk to them, and the fire crew is always really a popular group with them. They always have lots of questions for the fire team. This year we went out to Camp Myrtlewood. Students worked as camp counselors and in the kitchen with serving and doing the dishes. And they had a great chance to work with small children out there. They worked, took them on hikes. They did the arts and crafts. They did the games and the singing. And then we've been asked next year to come back and do even more. They want us to work on kind of maintenance around the camp and help them get the camp cleaned up for ready for campers. As a crew, we've worked in our student courtyard building planters and planting shrubs. And this is part of the work that is ongoing. So through the year, we take and manage the courtyard and all the plants. We trim all the plants, we keep it going. So even though we're a team in the summer as a work experience team, we keep that team feeling throughout the school year, even on to the next year. And people that have graduated, then we've even had hired back some of our employees come back as being supervisors the next year. Students then work at the Coos County Fairgrounds for a week, and they take care of the custodial and garbage duties for the county fair. The kids work for 8-hour shifts, and they work with other students that we hire that week as well. So we also contract to the fair, and they pay us enough that we are able to hire other students. So students are integrated with their peers like they would in a regular workforce. And so they work together as a team. Students are given the work site to work at different job sites in the community. And we have students that work in salons, hardware store, grocery stores, and then we've had members work with our district tech and our custodial sites as well. It's kind of great the way our team is a group of kids and the way they hire out, because they learn to depend on each other and get that support with each other. So they learn how to work together. They get those work readiness skills that give them the opportunity to be able to bond with other members of their team. Are there any questions?
It's just really cool how you both are doing really great jobs, but very different. You have these really cool work sites, and Chelsea, you have like 35 different small businesses. So it works for each of your communities. And I think that the RFA, you know, what CJ and I talked about was, if you want to apply for the RFA, what is the framework that you want for your community that's going to work in your community in the summer. These are two examples. And next we're going to have another example of what you can do. But both of you have just done some wonderful things for kids, and thank you so much for coming and speaking and the work that you've been doing. It's like I'm wowed by it. So
Terry, can I plug in something really quickly, Terry?
yep.
Just because it always comes up, just so everybody knows, CJ and I are really in close contact around making sure that, like, when YTP and RFA happen together, that there's no double dipping. So we're looking at the budgets and really clear role division and time division and all those new time reports we have to do. If you're split funded, like Chelsea was talking about in the summer, then she'll show her different hours for YTP and RFA. So just wanted to say that while we were on the topic.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you both. And I'm going to go back to the slideshow really quick before I introduce our next two speakers.
Harry, just cycling back to some things in the comment. CJ pointed out that it looks like the RFA is now live. She was able to access it. And if anyone has more questions around talking about what to do with one-on-one support for students, she can talk to you more. Maybe just reach out to her directly.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so up next for your listening pleasure are Jennifer Perry from Project Youth Plus, and she runs a WIOA RFA grant, and Yesenia Robinson is a YTP specialist at Central Point. And so I'm going to stop and we're going to have the two of them talk about how they work together in the summer. And I really like that. When Chelsea was talking, she mentioned that she gives herself 3 months to get kids set up, right? So now, where are we? February, March, April, May, yeah. So start thinking, because it's true. Getting Social Security and birth certificates are kind of, take time. Okay, so let's see, Yesenia. Okay, we have to unpin you guys. Let's see.
It's already done.
Oh, it is? Okay, I guess I don't see it.
I have Jen and
Hi,
just-
guys. You want to take it away, Miss Jen?
Sure. Hey, everyone, I'm Jen Perry. Thank you for inviting Yesenia and I to share. I work for a nonprofit called Project Youth Plus. We do manage the WIOA Youth Services, if any of you are familiar with that term, which are youth workforce dollars that come through our area. And we serve Josephine and Jackson counties. So I'm here with one of our YTP partners today, Yesenia. And it was so neat to hear from Chelsea and Allie about how their program is run and managed. And ours has a lot of similarities and a lot of differences, I would say. So one of the big differences is that Project Youth Plus, the nonprofit in our situation, has applied for and sort of manages the grant. And so doing that allows us to partner with all of our YTP staff in Jackson and Josephine counties who serve over 16 high schools. And so our grant covers youth in all of those high schools instead of just one. And so we do have a staff that we have hired for the grant. We've had the grant also for 5, I don't think we were part of the pilot, maybe we were. Seems so long ago. It was another lifetime, right, before 2020. So we've had the grant for several years and really provide it to the community, to the youth through partnering with our YTP folks who are in schools. And the other thing I should mention is, as a nonprofit and managing that workforce fund, we already do paid work experiences for youth in our community. So we did that prior to the grant coming along. And I know that's a really new piece for a lot of the schools and districts and folks looking at the grants. So we had already sort of tackled all of that management piece already. Yo, do you want to talk a little bit about how we partner and do what we do?
Absolutely. Well, nice to see you guys. I am Yesenia from Crater High School, and I am just one YTP specialist and a group of wonderful people that we work with here in Southern Oregon. The way I work with Jen is a little bit differently than our other YTP sites, but we all do work together and partner. I do the job development in Central Point because I know the site and it's a small town and I have literally one school, so it's just a little easier. It's also one of those things that we use those job sites during the school year as well, as a non-paid work experience for either our transition program or any high school students who are needing to gain some employment skills. And that's been a really wonderful partnership as well. Really similar to Chelsea and Allie. We do have places like screen printings, pizza places, clothing boutiques, the tech department, the kitchen at Crater, who's actually just hired on 2 students that went through the summer program. So we have had some students that were hired on as well, and it's been wonderful. We've also had students that have been fired. And I think that's also it's a great learning experience. A lot like Chelsea and Allie, we do, I kind of put out a flyer in the spring. We're already planning, as a matter of fact. We just met this morning with Jen and her team, and we're already planning for this summer coming up. We also, we do a back camp, and not just for the students that are going to be working, but we offer, it's called Building Abilities Together. So it's a camp that's really geared towards, gaining those skills. Oh, this is awesome. Those work experience and getting out and just, checking out your community, going on industry tours. And we did a lot of workshops, and we had guest speakers, and it was phenomenal. So we got to go into the community and talk to local business owners as well. Scavenger hunts, also preparing all the new hire paperwork for the students that are going to be working. And we really do this as a team. We have our Southern Oregon ESD team, and they bring students, I bring students, and so does our Josephine County crew. So we've got all kinds of amazing things that we do. And this coming up summer, we're hoping that we're going to be able to be in person, but we're actually going to kind of split up in 2 sites, but do a few things together. So that's been really great. And again, like others, we do the timesheets, check in with the students on a weekly basis. At least I do. At Crater, I know Jen has a specific staff person who does that job development piece and does check in with the students for everybody else, because they have so many other schools that it would be overwhelming. But it has been, I think, one of the most amazing experiences that we've had. We get to meet and troubleshoot and talk, share our success stories. But just having Project Youth Plus there as a support for us, they can come up with some of the money that maybe we can't come up with for student needs. And it's been really phenomenal. So that's been something that we look forward to partnering with you, Jen, and your crew. It's always really fun. We've all become friends and look forward to really, seeing each other and spending that time with the students. But typically, also, we do about an 8-week work experience, and they do their timesheets every 2 weeks, and they're responsible for, getting that timesheet filled out, added up, that your supervisor signs. Just the same way we've got all the new hire paperwork that we go over, your expectations and all of that good stuff. If there's a student that needs a little bit of support, I usually jump in. All of our students that we've had so far transport themselves, that they're responsible for that piece, to getting themselves there and back from work. And then we meet one-on-one in the summer just to go over other things, but also as a check-in. And then with that report at the end of the summer, I help Jen and her team kind of get that, because I know my students the best, and I'm the one who's popping in there and checking in on how they're doing. And so that's really how we've done it, and it's been just wonderful for us, because not only do we get to hang out with them in the summer, but if we ever need anything like, hey, food handlers, Jen is right on it and she'll set it up for us. And we've got a group of students getting their food handlers through them as well. So it's really great to be able to have just that extra set of support there.
Yeah, and I think what's a little different about that, your program, Jen, is that you also have WIOA funds, which RFA isn't, so you can buy a kid a pair of shoes, or there's, which is kind of nice, right?
Yeah,
So-
that part's been really wonderful, because that does happen. A kiddo hasn't started working yet and they need some slip resistant shoes, or they need, whatever it is. And usually Jen will be the first one to jump in and say, I can provide that for them. And so that's been really phenomenal for us as well, because then we feel like our students are very well supported, and then they're ready for work. And it's been awesome. I just got an email, I think it was last week, about one of our students who was offered a position out of this whole work experience. So that's really awesome.
Well,
And circling back to those budget questions that you just addressed, there was a question in the chat that asked if the RFA could pay for background checks and fingerprinting. And CJ responded and said, if there's something that you feel is important, please include it in the budget, and then you can negotiate around those items.
right. Typically, yes, those are, but she can't say that, but I would say, yes, write it in, anything that you need to have your kids be successful. And thank you both for coming and talking about your program. And it's about partnerships, isn't it? There's WIOA in every community. There are other RFAs. Your school district doesn't have to be the one to write an RFA. Find out what else is out there, because this partnership has worked really well for all of your students. So
It's been wonderful. And one of the things that I love is that, you get to go out and do some job development, and you can say, hey, I've got this awesome program in the summertime, and I would love to partner with you this summer with a student. And they go through the interview process, they apply for the job, the student does, once we figure out who's interested. And most of the time, I don't think I've had maybe one business who said, we really can't do it right now because we're just starting out. But almost every single time they will say, yes, I'm definitely interested, and give us the opportunity.
Jen and CJ, maybe you can answer this when we talk about WIOA funding. I know in Eugene, there's Elevate, Douglas has Recruit Hippo. Are those the same things that you could partner with? Like the transition specialists could partner with those groups also? Are those the same?
I'm not recognizing those names, but every county,
Yeah.
I would look for your WorkSource center. So WorkSource Rogue Valley is what ours are called here.
Yeah.
Because every county, I believe, gets funding to serve youth in this capacity. And
Right.
so, everyone does it a little bit different. Typically, it's not held with a nonprofit like we do. And so, but yeah, all of our youth that we're serving qualify for those services. And especially if they're transitioning into adulthood, and out of school, it's really similar to helping them resource VR services. These workforce services are there for them, for folks with disabilities, and we can all sort of partner and use our funding in really fun ways where, we don't have to say no when somebody needs something, and instead we can say yes because of all the people that are around the table. So every community has youth workforce funds. I would find where your WorkSource center is in your community and start from there.
Yep. Yeah. And I know that Lane County really uses Elevate, and with similar things that you're doing. And so does Recruit Hippo and Douglas. So do that, or do some of that research, because they're great partners.
Yeah, and they can pay for some of those support
Yep.
services that might
Exactly.
not be covered from the grant, or maybe extend a work experience past the, who knows, or do an on-the-job training. There's a lot of opportunities. And we have funding for training, so if somebody discovers that, they want to be in transportation and get their flagging certification, for example. Yeah.
Thank you both very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Work, thanks. Okay, I am going to share my screen once more, I hope. So here are the emails of people who spoke today, and feel free. This is a community. It's a community of practice. It's also a community of sharing ideas, and when I had an RFA the following year, someone asked me about it and I gave them a copy. So if you want to approach somebody and get some more answers, or have questions, you want to see their paperwork, ask. People are more than willing to help. And I really appreciate Chelsea, Allie, Jenny, and Yesenia for talking today. And if anyone has any questions, feel free. We have another minute or two or 4.
Anybody out there thinking about doing it? It's a great idea. I think about ESDs going in together and putting something together. Anybody have any questions that might, wondering how you would get started?
I have one clarification question. Say a site is anticipating that they might need food handlers or work clothes for the RFA. Are they able to attempt to write that in the RFA and negotiate it as far as funding?
The biggest thing, yeah, the biggest thing with the budget is do all of those things. I have one person, they put always something that we negotiate. So I think really put that, because also it depends on the type of student. There's some other factors. So kind of get a good framework of what you want and what you think needs to be in there, and then we can always talk about it. So budgets are always negotiable, and we can talk about the reasoning behind all of that individually with each program. Or I guess I will. That's what I'm doing.
There's a question in the chat that says, how many school districts are allowed to participate in the RFAs, and how intense is the application process?
So we don't have a limit. There's schools and providers right now that are part of it. And right now we currently have 19 that between schools and different providers of service. And the application itself is 3 pages. So that's all I could say about that. But okay.
And there's the next question. Do our ESDs know about the RFA? I guess ask your district people to find out. And if they don't, let them know that
Yeah,
the opportunities exist and where to find them. Then there's a question for Chelsea. Where did you find the assistants to work the summer program? Were they current school employees, same ones each summer?
So we do hire in-house, and we try to hire assistants who are already in our resource room or in our life skills room, so the students are familiar with them. And we have had this, a couple of them have been with us the whole time, or I think one has been with us the whole time, but we have had to open that up a couple different times to new employees.
and you can, when you write the RFA, I'm just going to say this, if you get to write how much you're paying people, and if you have to pay them a little more to get your positions filled, you can justify that, I think, in your RFA. I'm gonna say that, that's what I think, so.
Makes sense.
And then one program at a YTP school is run by non-YTP staff. We all know staffing, staffing is tough right now, finding good people. So just as you're planning your program now and getting ready for kids now, you start looking around at people in your community or people in your school who might be good and start, I mean, that's how you run a successful program, is by planning in advance, right?
Right, and you all know IAs or EAs in your school who might want a few summer hours, and they're the perfect people to talk with.
So any other questions?
There's one more in the chat from Eileen. What are the options for the RFA if your school district is not willing to do payroll or contract with the staffing agency?
If your school district doesn't want to do it, and you could go and find an outside agency that may be willing to do it. I mean, that's my best answer. I don't know if anyone else has a better answer than that. I know that there might be another agency in your community who would do it.
Eileen, check with your workforce board up in your area.
So if we could find someone else to partner with, that's okay, and not involve our school district?
Yeah, that's what Jen did. Jen and Yesenia did down in Southern Oregon.
I don't know what area you're in, but Ant Farm is willing to pay youth, even if they don't work at the Ant Farm, for a small admin fee. They're doing that for me.
Oh. Well, we're in Tigard.
Great.
That's not that far.
Yeah, and in Eugene, I worked with Pearl Buck one year, who was the payee for 2 students because the school district didn't want to do it that year. It was complicated, it's a little convoluted, but you find a payee that can work.
Can you go through a temp agency?
You could get it. There's things you can do. I've never done that. I don't know of anyone who's doing it, but
They've done that out in Bandon before.
oh, they have. Okay, so yeah.
The way that was worded, if your school district's not on board, you can find somebody else. They would still need to like conceptually support all of it, the
Oh.
hours and everything.
Yeah,
You just mean the payment, which can get complicated. So.
Yeah, you're right. You still need, your team needs to be involved. This isn't like, yeah, you're right. Thank you, Michelle. Just go find someone else and do your own thing. Of course not.
Last year, we had grant money to spend and we tried and they just wouldn't. I mean, even after we found someone to do our staffing and billing and payroll and all that, the district still wouldn't give us the blessing to do it.
Well, then find another agency. As we see, there's other opportunities out there. I mean, yeah, that happens.
So I just wanted to know if we can apply for a grant, get it, as long as there's somebody to work to do the payroll and oversee us, we could do it.
Well, we should have a one-on-one conversation.
Well, like for
Okay?
instance, we work with, a lot of our students work at Superfresh Youth Farm and they're already accessing other grants. So if we got a grant for our YTP students and they worked with them, then they could take care of that, maybe?
That sounds viable, but I don't know enough to say yes. I'm not the end all be all, but to whoever your tap is, talk more, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Yes, thanks everybody for being here, and go forth and plan.
All right, see you next time.